Life begins early here. Pots on coals, traders at the gate, children chasing goats. It feels normal. That's how tragedies start. Two travelers arrive at the gate, dust in their cloaks, silence in their eyes. Lot reads the road on their faces and invites them in. In this world, hospitality is law. Bread is broken, water poured, feet washed. What you protect under your roof defines you.
Word spreads. Curiosity turns to a crowd. A city famous for power forgets the weight of mercy.
The door bears the force of many hands. Inside, breath tightens. The travelers say softly, "At first light, leave." This is not a night to test the edge. Pack lightly, do not look back. Dawn loosens the night. Every step is a choice. Stay with the familiar or walk into the unknown to keep your soul intact. A bowl left on the sill, fingerprints in flour, the ordinary things that make a life. Suddenly, prosperity without compassion corrodes. When violence becomes entertainment, the ground itself feels different underfoot. Far off, an old shepherd prays for the valley. Mercy wrestles with judgment long before the fire. The travelers lead the way. Keep your eyes ahead, they say. This is the day you live by, not turning. A pressure moves through the valley. Doors slam on their own. Birds lift all at once. The body knows before the mind understands. Heat touches bitumen. Roof edges and baskets become wicks. Flames crawl where people once shared bread. Light without comfort. A glow that steals breath and sound. The horizon folds into a furnace. Grief pulls like gravity. One heart turns, aching for what was, and is claimed by the very earth she loved. When the roar ends, the world is powdered and quiet. What remains is not spectacle. It is warning. We rebuild this day to learn. Power without care burns homes. Mercy preserves cities. Choose which story your street will tell. The climb turns breath into prayer. The daughters steady their father as if holding up a tent in storm wind. He steadies their courage with a hand on each shoulder. Behind them, the valley is no longer a place, only a lesson written in smoke. Survival is not a sprint here, it is a cadence. Step, breathe, bless the one beside you. Mercy now looks like three silhouettes refusing to let go. They keep their faces forward, but memory looks back on its own. The taste of warm bread with date syrup, a neighbor's laugh, last year's wedding song floating over rooftops. Grief is a faithful dog. It follows even when you forbid it. Still, each footfall declares a boundary. We will carry our dead, but we will not live with death. The future requires hands open, even when the heart is full. On a ridge, the wind needles salt into their skin until tears sting like fire. The world writes its sermon in minerals. You become what you stare at. Longing can turn you to stone. Mercy can turn you to shelter. They learn to look past what burns and fix their gaze on what can be rebuilt. At a spring tucked under rock, they cup water to their father's lips. No speeches, just service. This is how love survives the furnace. In quiet hands, in the patience to hold, in the refusal to let a thirsty soul drink alone. Loss teaches a deeper hospitality. The cave welcomes them like a low-breathed hymn. Shawls unrolled into beds. A small fire is coaxed from dry twigs. A home is less about walls than a vow. Inside this circle, you are safe. Grief curls at the doorway. Hope sleeps by the coals. There are prayers you don't learn until you've lost almost everything. Lot counts blessings aloud so his daughters won't count the missing. Gratitude is a lantern that does not argue with the dark. It simply burns steady. In that glow, the past loosens its grip. At first light, the valley lies under a band of gray, like a wound stitched shut. Heat shimmer dances where streets once crossed. The scale of it sobers the soul. What takes years to build can fall in one reckless hour. They stand long enough to feel the lesson, then turn so it does not petrify them. A pot mended 3 times. A shawl woven by a grandmother. The economy of love is counted in repairs and patience. Fire doesn't only consume wood, it eats the years we shared. So they save what can be saved, stitch what can be stitched, and honor what cannot be replaced.
On his ridge, the old shepherd stands where he stood yesterday, but the sky has learned a heavier language. He prays the simplest prayer. Teach us to do right by strangers, to be brave before crowds, to welcome without calculation. Some answers arrive in smoke, others arrive as courage for the next gate we open.
By noon, the travelers are gone. They leave no names, just a sentence. Protect what enters your roof. Cities rise where that sentence is obeyed. They fall where it is mocked. Their absence is its own instruction. Do the right thing when no one is watching. Beneath the streets lay salt, sulfur, and bitumen, patient as tinder. A sudden heat, a ruthless wind, and roof edges became wicks. Wisdom is not fear. Wisdom builds with the land instead of against it. The valley did not break the law of mercy, the people did. Weaving at noon, figs drying on a rooftop, lullabies in doorways. They were not monsters, they were neighbors with habits and hopes. If we forget their ordinary joys, we turn history into theater and learn nothing from their grief. Pride dulls the ear. When cruelty becomes entertainment, warnings sound like noise. The first judgment is always this: hearts that no longer hear. The last mercy is a voice at your door, asking you to change. Abraham bargained for 10 righteous among thousands, 10 brave hearts to hold a city together. The equation is still true. A few who love their neighbor can anchor the many. Build your life like you are one of the 10. The land is honest. Salt whitens where water dies. Tar seeps where earth opens. You can read a future in the ground if you learn its language. Build with the land, or the land will unbuild you. In the cave, Lot binds his home with a new promise. In this house, the stranger is safe. In this city, cruelty has no seat. Vows cannot change yesterday, but they can lay foundations for tomorrow. The daughters nod, learning leadership they never asked for. They draw a rectangle in dust. 2 rooms, a shaded door, a hearth away from the wind. Wisdom lives in small plans done well, and in the humility to start small. A city begins as a doorway that welcomes. What do we owe the one who arrives dusty at dusk? Bread, water, a name, and a place by the fire. That is the gate God blesses. That is the firewall no wind can breach. The valley exhales. Birds return to the reeds. Ash settles into soil that will grow something living. The world does not end. It hands you a choice and waits to see what you build. We do not rebuild this day to shock you. We rebuild it so your gate keeps mercy, your hands learn hospitality, and your eyes stay forward. Love outlives fire. Choose the sentence your street will speak when the wind rises again. They climb to a quiet shelf of rock and lay her shawl, stiff with wind-blown salt, across a flat stone. The daughters stack smooth river stones with slow hands, each one a memory, each one a promise not to let grief harden into bitterness.
Lot speaks blessings for the living and for the lost, his voice steadying as if the ground itself is listening. Love does not try to undo what fire has done. It chooses what is worth carrying forward.
That evening, Lot teaches the law of the gate. The stranger's life is your life. What enters under your roof is under your protection. Power is not permission to be cruel. He shows the daughters how to welcome without fear and to refuse the mob in their own hearts. The city that fell becomes the lesson that stands. Hospitality is the first wall a fire cannot cross. They build where the wind is kind and the morning sun is gentle. Posts face the slope, the door looks toward shade, the roof breathes through a smoke gap. Nothing is wasted. Palm fronds, reed cord, river stones. Wisdom lives in the way a home listens to its land. The first roof they raise is not just structure, it is a vow made visible. A shepherd appears at dusk, dust on his sandals, worry in his eyes. The daughters step forward first, laying water and bread at his feet. Lot invites him in without asking his name. Fear loosens its fist around their throats as the man's shoulders drop and he smiles in relief. A city begins like this, one safe doorway. That night, a daughter wakes from a dream where doors splinter and the sky is a furnace. Lot sits beside her, telling the story again, but differently. Not where the fire started, but how mercy moved. Not how many fell, but how a few stood firm. In the telling, her breath lengthens. Memory loses its teeth when it is fed truth. On the far ridge, Abraham watches the smoke thin to a gray ribbon and lowers his staff. He does not celebrate, he blesses. Teach us to open our gates, he prays, and to bargain for the good while there is still time. Then he turns away, trusting that mercy will find the survivors before pride finds them again. Days pass and the basin exhales. Ash sinks into soil, reeds spear through the shallows. Birds reclaim the air with small brave songs. The land keeps its memory but loosens its fear. We are meant to heal like that, honest about the wound, generous with new growth. Lot gathers what they've learned into 7 simple rules. Open your door. Face your house to shade. Keep fire away from pitch. Store water where everyone can reach it. Feed the stranger first. Judge fairly at the gate. And let elders teach before crowds shout. Cities do not fail for lack of brilliance. They fail for lack of courage in ordinary duties. The daughters become the city's first walls, gentle, firm, unafraid. They welcome a widow, send a drunk to sleep it off by the fire, and refuse a joke that makes cruelty easy. Leadership looks like this: eyes that see the person, hands that move first, courage that doesn't ask permission. They cut a sign into the lintel, a simple braid of lines for hospitality, a small circle for justice. No slogans, no boasting, just a promise carved where every hand must pass. A house is a teacher. Let your threshold instruct the heart before the tongue can try. They break camp to move beyond the valley's shadow, taking only what love needs: tools, blankets, seeds, and a story to guide their gates. Behind them lies a lesson. Before them, the work of a lifetime. They do not hurry. Survivors walk at the pace of trust. We remember Sodom and Gomorrah not to stare at ruins, but to keep our eyes on the work that prevents them. Protect the guest, refuse the crowd, honor the weak, and build with the land. Love outlives fire. If your gate keeps mercy, your city will stand when the wind rises again. Let this be the sentence your street speaks.